And now, our feature presentation.
To infinity and beyond!
My name's Bond. James Bond.
That'll do, Pig.
Bad boys, what you gonna do?
Show you with the box. Who's in the box?
Ew! Get off of me! Ugh, that's it.
A lot of people go to college for 7 years.
I know. They're called doctors.
Houston, we have a problem.
Welcome. How's everybody doing today? Welcome into 52/1995, your live movie conversation podcast where we discuss movies from the year 1995. I'm your host, Cody. I'm thrilled to be joined by my co-host this week, Alyssa. Thank you, Alyssa, for being here.
Hey.
And thank you to everybody else who's out there watching. If you're watching now or if you're watching later, we appreciate you. If you are here and you're tuning in for the very first time, we're glad that you're here. I promise you. I'm so happy that you're here. If you hit that follow button, you will be able to communicate with us and talk with us here on Twitch and live around the place. So if you hit that follow button and join in the chat. But let me give you a rundown of what we do here. So every week, 52 weeks to be exact, we explore a different film from the year 1995 on its 30th anniversary. Whether it's a classic hit, a quirky gem, or somewhere just kind of in the middle, we dive into the important releases of the year. We talk about them in detail. I sometimes will ask my guest what they've been watching lately at the end of it. Maybe I ask them how they feel after they've watched this specific movie. Who knows? But we usually have a monthly theme, and our current theme this month, kicking off February, is You Love Me, You Really Love Me, where the movies that we're talking about are all going to be of a romantic nature. It's the month of love for all of us out here. So welcome in. Today's movie of choice, our first movie to kick off this February theme, is going to be Before Sunrise. So don't know if anybody's ever heard of this movie. We hope that you have, and we hope that you've seen it and are coming to talk about it. But before we jump into this week's movie, let's talk to our guest, Alyssa. Alyssa, thanks for joining us once again. Have you seen the movie that we are discussing today?
I have not. I know it is one of your favorites and that you have told me a bunch of times that I need to see it. So this was like kind of the excuse to actually see it. So that's the only experience or knowledge I have of this movie is what you've told me. So prior to this, I never heard of this. This isn't like one of those movies where I heard of and I was like, oh yeah, I should get around to watching that someday. Like, no, this was just totally not on my radar at all.
Well, I'm glad that I told you about it because I'm a very smart person. What were your first impressions of this movie?
I enjoyed it. I liked it. I like that it's basically just two characters and nobody else. Like it's not very complex or complicated. It's just like I think you called it a walking and talking movie, and I enjoyed it.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about it a little bit more. Let's dive in a little bit deeper into this and maybe break it down a little bit more. Give you some stats and some follow-up on this. Again, the name of the movie is called Before Sunrise. It was released not too long ago, almost 30 years ago to be exact. On January 27th, 1995, it is directed by Richard Linklater. If you don't know who Richard Linklater is, you've probably seen a movie by him and just didn't know it was a Richard Linklater film. He's done movies like we've done on this show. Dazed and Confused was the one that we did of his, probably one of his most famous. Boyhood is another one of his. School of Rock is probably maybe his most popular movie. And then so many more, including a trilogy of these movies that we'll talk about. This movie was written by Richard Linklater and Kim Krisian. I think that's how you say it, Krisen. And the cast, like Alyssa was saying, is not very complex. There's really only two people that we need to talk about, and that's Ethan Hawke as Jesse and Julie Delpy as Celine. The synopsis that I pulled from Google, haven't read it yet, here we go, is on his way to Vienna, American Jesse meets Celine, a student returning to Paris. After long conversations forge a surprising connection between them, Jesse convinces Celine to get off the train with him in Vienna. Since his flight to the U.S. departs the next morning and he has no money for lodging, they wander the city together, talking and experiences of Vienna and each other. As the night progresses, their bond makes separating in the morning a difficult choice. And this movie cost a whopping $2.5 million to make. And the box office, not a huge box office return for this movie, but $22.5 million. So it definitely made its money back. And this Rotten Tomatoes score is, I think, the first of its kind that we've seen here on 52 Slash. We're sitting at a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Could not find a critic on Rotten Tomatoes that did not like this movie.
Wow.
Yeah, it's our first ever 100%. IMDb has this at a 8.1 and Letterboxd has this at a 4.3. Roger Ebert did like this movie. He said Before Sunrise is so much like real life, like a documentary with an invisible camera, that I found myself remembering real conversations I had experienced with more or less in the same words. Roger Ebert gave it 3 out of 4 stars. And like I said, it was tough to find a negative review, so I just pulled a 1-star review from users of Rotten Tomatoes. So the Rotten Tomatoes score is based on critics. They have an audience score. And the very first one on there was a 1 out of 5-star review. It said, one of the worst movies I ever saw. They talk for 2 hours straight, no plot, no action. It was boring, huge snooze fest. That's LW, a user of Rotten Tomatoes. So he never thought that, or she never thought that, they never thought that they would get famous with that review, but we're using it here today.
Mm-hmm.
And, go ahead.
I did enjoy this movie. I know that you love this movie. I think you and I are going to have. I don't have a negative review or a negative outlook, but I do think you and I are going to not see eye to eye on a couple things here.
And then we won't talk for a week.
So
The legacy of this movie includes 2 other movies, Before Sunset and Before Midnight. And then also there's a scene in Linklater's animated film Waking Life that is Celine and Jesse discussing something in bed together, I think, because it's just a random scene. I don't think it even has anything to do with this. So now that I know that we're going to disagree about this movie, let's dive deeper into this movie discussion and talk about some of the standout scenes that make this film memorable. I'm going to start with you.
I mean, we got to kick it off with the train because that is where we start, and really is the springboard for the rest of this movie, where Jesse and Celine are sitting near each other on the train. He invites her to go to the. So this is the problem with us not having trains in the United States. The food car basically invites her to go have like a drink and a snack with her. And they just talk for presumably an hour, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours in this train, just about life and where they're headed and what they're doing, where they're going. And when it becomes to be his stop in Vienna, he invites her to come with him, like you just read in the summary of the plot. Is like he's like, if I don't do this, this is gonna haunt me for the rest of my life. So like just spend the day with me. He's like, I don't have money to get a hotel room. I'm literally just gonna walk around the airport if I go by myself. So like, let's have a day together. Let's adventure. I like talking to you. She's like, I like talking to you too. She's like, let's keep talking. And hence begins our adventure. And that's a very, like, we get to learn about our characters pretty quickly in that scene.
Except we don't learn their names.
Yeah, we don't know who they are. I was like, I did not think we were going to get names in this movie, to be honest.
Yeah, I was glad that you pointed that out later, that they just got off the train to hang out with one another and didn't even know each other's names until much later. Or not much later, like almost right after this, but they do introduce they do introduce themselves to each other. Yeah, I basically all of the scenes that I have written down are just locations. Which I think is appropriate for this movie. Everything kind of seems like these are the scenes, or these different locations. And the train was what I had first. And we start off with a German couple in the scene fighting. I do have info about what they're fighting about. He does not put any subtitles on what they're fighting about, but you do figure out what they're fighting about. And so Celine, annoyed by this, gets up and goes back to the back of that car, meets Jesse. They exchange looks of one another. They're both reading books. So they're both little intellectuals. They're both young, and they spark that conversation up with one another, leading to the food car and getting to know each other a little bit better, asking them what they've been doing. And I think she was visiting her grandma in Budapest.
Yep, she's on her way home to Paris from Budapest. He is on his way to Vienna, and he's flying out of Vienna to get home to the United States. Do we know where in the United States he lives?
No, I don't think so. I think you might learn later.
Okay.
But not in this. I don't think you learn in this movie where he's from, or where he lived. But you also find out that he's been just traveling on trains. He's just been using the Eurail and not really doing much of anything else, because he came to Madrid, and that's all we learn at this point, is that he was in Madrid, and then he's been riding the Eurail for a while.
A couple weeks.
Yeah, a couple weeks, just riding around. And then, I don't know. I like that opening scene with them, and it feels very, I like the progress of it. Like, it's very awkward, and then it kind of flows into a conversation, like just an everyday conversation. And then even that part at the end, I feel like he is doing something that he thinks in his mind is super romantic and super like adventurous and spontaneous. He's like, get off this train with me, do it. And then almost as, I like that part. And then they get off the train together, and the next thing he goes, like, they're walking, and he's like, I don't know what to do now. That was like my only thought.
Yeah, they do. He's like, this is awkward, isn't it? She's like, yeah, it is. And I'm like, thank God someone said something.
Yeah.
Because it is like, I think I do love the reality of like it. Like, I like Roger Ebert's review of it, that it just feels like I'm watching a documentary. It feels real, because like you can strike up a conversation with anybody if you're extroverted enough and like talk about whatever, but then like you agree to go do an activity with that person. You're just, and like just someone brand new you met a couple hours ago is just like, what do we do now? And they don't have any money, right? So or they have a little bit of money, but not like a ton. So it's like, what do we do in this situation?
And they're both, and this is like going to another, I mean, obviously she's from Paris, but she's not from Austria. She doesn't know Vienna. She's probably been to Vienna before, but like we're getting off this train after like maybe 5-6 o'clock. And they're, everything's probably closed down or closing down at that point, that they would want to go see, like art exhibits or museums or things like that. And so they're just kind of both strangers in this foreign city and don't really have any idea. And one of them speaks English and nothing else. One speaks French and not really anything else in English.
Knows a little bit of German.
Knows a little bit of German, but
not
doesn't
like
speak
enough.
it. Yeah, not enough to get by in Vienna.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they all speak English there. So, good question from chat though. 0 to 100%. How likely would you get off the train with a stranger?
Like -40.
What if he was okay, he's Jesse, and you have that conversation with him.
This is a young person's game. In watching this movie, like later we learned that Celine is 23. Jesse's probably that's similar age, like 20s. Because he talks about like she's in school, his friends are in school. Like I don't know if he's in school or not, but I was like, yeah, when I was 23, I might have done some dumb shit like this. Like, but now that I'm in my 30s, I'm like, this is stranger danger. This is the worst possible. And he does say, he's like, hey, if this doesn't work, you could just get on the next train and no hard feelings. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, yeah, never in my life would I mean, I know it's romantic. I know it's adorable. There's so much stranger danger. That girl, this is the beginning of Taken.
It's true. This is Taken. This is
All
what
those
happened.
the girls in Taken were just trying to share a cab to save money. There was no romance involved, and they got swiped immediately. Like I'm like, no, this is. I'd be like, no, it was really nice to meet you, but I'm deeply sorry. I'm gonna stay on this train. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. Obviously, there's the romance part of this and like uh the youth part of this. And that is important, I think, when watching this movie.
Yes.
And is something that I continue to think to myself about because like we are just watching them moment in time and listening to the conversations that they are having and everything. And I have to think about it not as a cynical 37, 38-year-old person that I am and think, is this the bullshit that I would be spouting out? Or is this the kind of fact, like, is this a 23-year-old man
Yep.
acting like this? And I have to keep like reminding myself, yes, like that's what this is. And she is also a 23-year-old woman. Like
Mm-hmm.
we have to remember that in this. And maybe I'm only remembering that or doing that so that whenever I evaluate the other films as a part of this before trilogy, I insert myself into, okay, now we are 10 years older. And then we're another 10 years older or wherever. Which spoilers, there's a trilogy part of this. I already said that. So, but so I have foreknowledge of this. You haven't seen those.
I know nothing. I know zero plot of the other two movies. I know nothing. So yeah, I've got a little more clear vision on what's happening. And
Right.
yeah, it is difficult to, and again, as it's romance, it's adventure, it's the unpredictable and the cinema of it all. Like, this is something that happens in movies. It's not necessarily something that happens in real life. And that's hard to insert yourself. And I'm already somebody who is like very risk averse, even at age 23. Would I be like, when I go from -40 to like 10 up to like positive numbers, like 10%, sure, but that's 10%, not 50, 60, 70, 80%. Like, yeah, I'm getting off this train. I'm like, I would be like the most hesitant on the face of the planet.
And I'm thinking of it like, okay, I'm thinking of it like now, if Cody with 38-year-old, 37-year-old knowledge knows everything that I know now, I'm with Chad. I'm 100% getting off that train when I'm 23. But me as a 23-year-old would be like, no, I'm not pulling that move. I'm not even going to try it. Like, if I'm putting myself in Jesse's shoes, I'm not even going to try that. Like, just my personality.
I do like how, I will say, I do like how he presented it to her. I don't have like the quote here, but he's like, one day, like 10 years from now, you're going to look back on your life. You're going to be married. You're going to be miserable in your marriage. He's like, and you're going to think about all the what ifs in your life. And I'm going to be one of those what ifs if you don't get off the train with me. And I was like, damn, that was convincing. Like he did, like he kicked things off with, this is for today. This is a live in the moment, seize the day, carpe diem situation here. And he's like, one day you'll look back on this and maybe you'll smile, or maybe you'll go, yeah, thank God I didn't end up with that guy. And I'm happy to be with my boring husband. And again, these are two people who are not risk averse like myself, and they are adventurers in a way, and pseudo intellectuals, and so I'm like, it makes sense for them. And like he was convincing. I will give him that. But yeah, like 32-year-old me is like, woman.
I get it. No, I 100% get it. And that's like, I like watching movies next to you and watching your face, and like I like the experience of watching these new movies with you to see, kind of feel you out. So I like, there are parts of this movie where I was like, oh yeah, she's not gonna like this, or she's not gonna like him, or there are certain spots where I was like, okay, well, maybe we'll have to talk about this on this and see how we really feel. So what's your next? So we got the train. We've talked, a lot about the train.
Right.
Which is
it sets us up really well. And even the rest of the scenes are kind of short in a way, like especially until we get to the park, I think. But we'll get to the park eventually. But the next one I have is the record store.
I had the bridge before the record store, I think.
What is that with the German
That's with
actors.
the German, the Austrian actors, yeah. Which I just wanted to mention because I thought it's one of the funnier points in the parts of the movie. Um, these two awkward kids are come up to these strangers and they're like, "Hey, is there anything fun to do?" And these guys are like, "Jesus, Americans, like,
Yeah.
you guys don't even probably speak anything other than English." And then they're like, "Yeah, come see our play. Why not? We're in a
Yeah.
play called Wilmington's Cow or something along those lines."
It's like the something and something of Wilmington's cow. And the one guy's like, I'm the cow. And it is genuinely like the best, in my opinion. That's my laugh moment. It is a
Okay.
genuine chuckle when he goes, I'm the cow.
Yeah.
And hence where my namesake comes from. It is absurd. But it's, yeah, it's like, that's what that's what I would do. I would walk up to a rando on the street if I was like, hey, what's there to do around here? And they invite them to the play. It's happening at, the 9:30 tonight. And they're like, okay, maybe we'll go do that. Cause like you said, all the museums are closed at this point. They make a point to say that. So there isn't really anywhere for them to go.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that they even introduced this in the meeting because the whole time, I don't know about you, but in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, when are we going to see that play?
Yeah. I was
When
like,
are we going to
do a
go
play?
see? Are we going to go to a play with them? But now, so you've got that anticipation in the back of your mind. You're like, oh, we've got a plan later tonight, 9:30. We're going to
It's
be
gonna
at
be a
this
plot
play.
point.
But then you know that there's nothing else to do. So they are still going to set their walk around until this play. So you're like, okay, what am I going to see for the next hour or however they're pacing
Couple
this
hours.
So I think it's an interesting way to set up, the plot or lack of plot in this movie. I thought that's a really interesting way and also gives them some interaction with somebody other than themselves, which they do get a couple times throughout this movie. It is mostly just Jesse and Celine, but for the most part, we get a couple of little interactions. But yeah, the record store is what I had next.
Yeah, I love the record store. I mean, it's just, they're walking around, they come across a record store, they're talking music. They pick out a record. She's like, "Oh, this is an American artist. My friend told me about her." And he's like, "Do you want to go in the listening booth and give it a listen?" And I'm like, "Oh, the nostalgia, what we just don't, that doesn't exist anymore.
Doesn't
Even
exist.
even the record stores that we do still have, they don't have listening booths."
Yeah.
So they go into the listening booth, they put on the song is "Come Here" by Kath Bloom. And it's very romantic, and they are trying so hard to not look at each other, or they're like, it's uncomfortable in like the cutest way possible. Like he's just staring at her, like he just wants her so badly, and then like when she glances at him, he'll like glance away, and when she'll glance away, but they're so close together proximity wise, they're shoulder to shoulder in this booth, and I'm like, kiss, but they're not.
Kiss already.
Just kiss already, and they're not going to kiss yet. But it's like you can like the acting. It just because again, there's no body language. It's all face, and it's all awkward in the cutest way possible. And like the acting that has to the face acting that has to happen in that was really impressive. I thought that was a really standout scene.
I do think I read somewhere or watched a video about this particular scene when I was looking up stuff earlier. About like that's the first time that they had ever heard that song before.
Oh, cool.
Is truly in that moment. So not only is the director getting their real-time reactions, but you're also seeing their real-time reaction while also needing to like essentially fall in love with each other in that moment. Like it's just one of those things. And again, it speaks to them being in their early 20s. And I don't know about you in your younger relationships or high school or anything like that, but I remember times when you try to you're always looking at someone trying to catch their eye just to see if they're looking at you, but you also don't want to be caught at the same time looking at them, looking at you. I don't know. It felt real. And a lot of this does feel real. And even though it is in a very unreal, like it is a movie and you have to think about that.
I was kind like genuinely sitting there shocked that this scene in particular was a scene and not me watching two people who are crushing on each other. Like I was like, did these two bang in real life? Because or were they wanting to? Like I don't know about their personal lives. I don't think they're together. But like,
No.
I just the the tension and again the awkwardness and the youth of it all, and I'm like it was so convincing because I have that in movies, not in a lot of movies, but like there's some movies where I'm just like the romantic tension's not there. Like I'm like, why are these two people kissing? This makes zero sense. Like there wasn't, like we talked about it a couple months ago with Legends of the Fall. I was like, what? How did we get here? This doesn't make sense. But then we talk about The Remains of the Day, where it was like the tension was so thick and like the acting was so good. And I would like to put this scene in particular up with that. I just say I still think Remains of the Day is an incredible movie, but like, and this movie I have my qualms with, like that scene, that clip of them in the sound, the listening booth in particular. I was like, I believe this 100%. I'm in.
And there's a part, I think there's a part maybe before this. They're in a car or they're on a bus at some point very early in this film, and I do feel like it's like right before this, where they're in there and they're looking at it. They're doing the exact same thing in the back of the bus or the bus where they're sitting. And like, he's got his arm around her and he's looking at her. And there's like a moment, and it's so small and minimal that you probably missed it, or anybody could miss it. Like he like goes to like put hair out, like, tuck her hair. And she like, is like, oh,
I saw that.
Yeah. And it's so cute and funny and weird and awkward and everything. Yeah. So a lot of this movie to me are just those moments, glances or sentences that they say for and get a reaction out of their partner or whatever. It's all those little moments that I think are really, really special about this movie. And that's okay that you don't like it as much as I do. I'm fine with that. But I'm glad to hear like that this scene alone is something that you were like, oh, I love that. And I'm like, yes, perfect. I'm there. We're good. Yes. We're good there.
Yes. And it's not that we'll get to it. We'll talk about it.
So yes, the record store scene, brilliant. Love it. It's great. They're listening to that for the first time and falling in love with each other at the same time. It's adorable. All right. What's your next scene?
It was really hard to pinpoint like the most important scenes because each location has something in particular that happens. I am at the pinball game at this point.
Wow.
So I know.
You skipped the kiss. You skipped the cafe.
I know the cafe. I was like, I should have put the cafe, but I went the pinball game, the park, the train home. Like I tried to condense it to 5. So
I know. I always tell people to keep it to 5 just for the length of the pod and everything. But
we do, I think, have to talk about the cafe. They do kiss in a Ferris wheel. Great.
Which the one thing I will point out is when, they kiss in the Ferris wheel. This feels the most juvenile part of the whole, like their whole interactions together. Even the way he kisses her or attempts to kiss her, and she's like, do you want to kiss me? Like sunset and all this other stuff. Like, and she points it out later. She's like, you kiss like an adolescent, which awesome. Good for her to say so. But like in that moment, I could see a 23-year-old man thinking that this is the most romantic thing he could possibly do. It's sunset. We're on a Ferris wheel. This is very movie, and it's been done in movies before. A couple different movies, in fact, were inspirations for this very scene. But the one thing I wanted to point out is how it is. Yeah, kids on a fairground, going to like a small carnival or something like that. It does feel like that, and I like that scene. But I also, again, I'm like, these are 20-somethings.
Yes.
And I have to keep telling myself. But he also feels a little bit more juvenile than she does, and that's how maturity works.
And well, there's also this moment where like he kind of gets a little big for his britches, like multiple times. And when he's like, we're on this Ferris wheel and there's a sunset, and then he doesn't make the move. She's the one, she puts her arms around him. She goes, do you want to kiss me? And he's just like, yes. And I'm like, you could have fucking said that, man. Like you could like, and that's again, what feels so young about it is that she has to come in and like be the adult in a way, or just kind of Like she's the one who like you think he's the one who's like started the plot in a way, who's like, get off the train with me. She is not a damsel in this situation. She is very much part of this. They are equal partners, but there are some times where he is like all bark and no bite. And so this is one of those moments where he is so much bark and zero bite, so she has to come in with the bite.
Right.
And it's like, and it kind of, and again, you said she calls him out for it later. But yeah.
No, and that is another thing that I feel like especially when we watch romantic movies or these romances that you see, and sometimes it's like we're watching a CW show where we're watching 20-somethings play, 16-year-olds, and we have all these characters now where these people are making the right moves at all the right times and everything, and that's one reason I love this movie, is that this has happened.
Yes.
This is something real. And like, you can like, I don't know, obviously I don't know about you, but I can relate to a moment like this where I thought I was being super suave and smooth and everything, and like not making the first move, but wanting to make the first move, and then like kind of blowing it, but then succeeding at the same time, like failing up in that situation, especially in a like it felt very real to me. And I was like, yeah, been there.
I do wonder, and we talk about like generational differences a lot. And I kind of, because there were points where I was like, man, they both feel so juvenile. 23 is not young. And then I like, they're adults. They're in their 20s. They're in school or almost out of school. Like we had like, you finish college around 22, like you enter into the real world. And I'm like, it kind of made me have to take a sit back and go, the internet's not around yet. Like, I was like, have we aged up our youth in a way? Like, and this is getting a little too into the weeds of it, but I'm like, because what they are doing, I would assume a 16-year-old would do. Like, and 16 to 23 is a massive difference. So I'm like, is it because of the access that we have now to just the more knowledge? We have the world's knowledge in our pocket at all times since we were a teenager. Did we age up, or did we age down people that are 16, 30 years prior? What they were doing, what we did at 16, someone would be doing at 23.
And I would, again, you and I always end up talking about generation diversity. It's, you train on it in your day job and everything.
It's a fascinating topic to me.
But thinking about like this couple being a Gen X, and what is going on in a Gen X world in 1990 in their younger Gen X too. And like, go back to Reality Bites. Like, those guys had nothing going on, no worries, no everything. Like, and then they bring up that stuff. You said they're pseudo intellectual earlier, and it's like, yeah, all they have to do is read books and articles, and that's all they can have to talk. Like, that's what our individuals are doing here, is just talking to each other about those things. Like, she's still in school. He's, essentially like Troy from, I think that was his name in Reality Bites, but like
a vagabond.
Yeah, like a vagabond, and maybe not as rough as that character was in Reality Bites. I do think he's a little bit different than that guy. Which is good that Ethan Hawke has a little bit of range at this point in his career, because
they're different.
They are different. But he still has like an edge to him, and you get the feeling that this guy just like he has friends that are in college, but he also has friends that are married and have a child and have responsibilities, and he's not a part of that yet. And so I think this occurs in every generation. Not just Gen Xers. I can see this same millennial couple. I can see this as a Gen Z couple. I think it is just about like where people are at that point in their life. And these people just didn't, like, one's got a student mentality and the other one's got I still haven't figured out what to do with my life mentality. And I thought this thing was going to be my life, and that just got swept out from under me. So I don't know. I think that kind of adds to it too.
Absolutely.
I feel like I talked myself out in a circle and didn't get anywhere with it. So
no, you're fine. There's a couple things that go into it. I also had, and we'll get to it eventually, I had a very difficult time with a recast because I actually don't think this movie could be made in 2025. You could make a version of it, but I think this is very quintessential to the Gen X experience. That,
Mhm.
like I said, I know way too much now. 9/11 happened after this movie. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, there's a
and this
lot of
isn't
stuff that goes
happening.
in. There's a
This
lot of
isn't
stuff.
happening post
Yeah.
1995.
And this is an interesting time too, because this is post Berlin Wall falling down, and Europe has been opened and freed to, different ideals and sets and everything from
Mhm.
that. So we're post this, we're pre 9/11, and it's a different world running around Europe than it would be now running around Europe.
Mhm.
This maybe was one of those things where you're doing a state travel kind of thing.
Yeah.
You meet somebody on a train traveling or at a rest stop, or I don't even know. That sounds so grimy. In the
Doesn't
United
it?
States. In the United States, it does. Meeting on a train is way more romantic.
Yes, it has to be this has to be with Europe as the background. It has to be on a train.
Yeah.
You could, I mean, yeah, making it a bus stop is seedy.
Yeah, nobody rides
Like
buses.
a Greyhound, and again, just the too much stranger danger.
Yeah, it is definitely
It,
I don't know. You're right. You're
I'm
right. I don't
sorry.
know. No,
I feel like
You
I'm
are.
picking apart this movie because it's again, it's very difficult to remove yourself from the 2025 vision. Like your 2025 glasses, the lens is very hard to remove sometimes when
No,
watching these.
and I'm not mad about that at all, about you saying like this couldn't be made 30 years later. I agree
Mhm.
with you. And I think that and again, putting the cart before the horse is thing. Once you watch the
Mhm.
second film or the third film,
Yes,
you'll be
and I
like,
want to.
oh, these are snapshots of time.
Hmm.
And this is not meant to be a story that can be picked up and redone in the
Hmm.
same way. We do have movies like this. We do, and I'm sure we'll have some in our pairings whenever we talk about movie pairings. But like, they don't do this. They do this movie similarly, but they cannot they cannot make this exact movie again.
Yeah.
So you're
Mhm.
right, 100% right. All right. So I said Ferris Wheel Cafe, and I know, and Poet by the River.
Mhm.
And you had the pinball place.
Yeah, I just thought that was there really wasn't anything that happened other than it's revealed that Jesse had gotten dumped in Madrid by his girlfriend, and that's
Mhm.
why he was just bouncing from train to train and got a flight out of Vienna just so he can take his mind off shit.
Mhm.
That was revealed.
I picked the cafe and the Poet by the River mostly because I wanted to. Could probably be seen as Jesse at his worst, I think, but also Jesse softening up to something. And I don't know if you caught it when we're watching it or anything. At the cafe, she pays a palm reader to read her palm, and her palm reader gives her a thing. And Jesse kind of dismisses this. He's like, "Oh, you just wasted your money on that. She would have told you anything." And then like, what'd she say about me? I didn't pay her to say anything. Like, he got really shitty about it.
Hmm.
And again, it feels so accurate
Hmm.
because you've heard that before. I've
I
said that before. I've said that shit before where I was like, you just wasted your money on something like so dumb. And
I I have encountered far too many Jessies in my
yeah,
life. And it just irked me so badly because I'm like, it's one thing to be a pessimist. Fine. It's another thing to be a pessimist and also want to destroy someone else's joy to make yourself feel better.
well,
Because and that's I think where again, this is his youth. This is and she calls him out and and then he also calls himself out. Like he calls himself the pseudo intellectual. But I'm like, but it is a personality trait that if I come across in the wild, it gives me stomach pain that
mhm.
I'm like, you and I are not going to be friends. You and I are not going to get along because that to me is such a because someone like a Jesse thinks he's so open-minded. And the second that somebody does something that he feels pessimistic about, he has to shut that shit down
Yeah.
immediately. He does it with the palm reader and the poet. And he's like, well, and that's like, a lot of people get into like religion about this as well. It's like, hey, it's like, well, it's like, oh, this thing was fun. And it goes, well, it's fake, right? It's like,
Yeah.
you don't have to be correct about this. Like, you got, it's like, he has to be the smartest person in the room. He has to be
Mhm.
so intelligent. I think in a way he thinks he's trying to like show off, be like, I don't want
Yeah.
her to think that I'm stupid. So I have to shut this down immediately. And she just is like, what the fuck? You just ruined that amount of joy for me. Like, she doesn't
Yeah.
say it like that, but that's how I see it. She's like, oh, what a fun little palm reader thing. That was so cute. And he was like, fuck that. Like,
Yeah.
and it's also so, and again, in my mind, I'm like, you guys met 5 hours ago. Like, and like, on the one hand, I feel like you can be your most vulnerable, open self with someone that knows nothing about you. Like, you can spill your guts to a stranger very easily because they don't know you. On
Yeah.
the other hand, I think he's just rude.
Mhm.
I'm like, you don't know her. Maybe like when he talks about past lives, or when he talks about, they talk about religion a little bit. They talk about, what if she really did believe in the palm reader beyond something that was, just a fun thing to do. I'm like, I'm not saying you have to like, tiptoe around to not offend anybody, but I'm like, don't be a dick for the sake of trying to look cool, because you're going to do the complete opposite.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really disliked him in this moment.
Yes, and this was the moment where I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna lose her at this," because she had this guy say this thing, and I was like, "I need her to hold on." And then, like, when Celine does come back at him and gives
Yeah.
it to him, I think that affected him.
Yeah.
But I also think that there are other parts in this movie. We're talking about, like, he even refers to himself as a 13-year-old boy in this, and she refers to herself as an old lady. And I think that's super important with like the male and female dynamics and the maturity level of both of them, especially at the same age in 20. Because you're right, this is a guy that we've all seen. I've been that guy in situations, and it's crazy for this young guy to destroy that moment when he created a moment that is a magical, beautiful, romantic moment, to just come in here and shit on it. And I think he realizes that when she comes back at him with it. Now, the poet by the river, I think, is unique because he instead of, like, she fishes money out of the pocket to give the palm reader, he fishes money out of his pocket immediately when he gets the poem read to him. And I think that is very important, because he learned, he's affected by that poem. Now, does he get a little bit shitty after and says, he probably just inserts that in there, but there's a difference in the way he's shitty in this situation than the one when he's shitty about the cafe, the palm reader.
I like your perspective on that. I saw that because he did not agree to the palm reader. He did agree to the poem. So that's why I thought that's like when he went to grab his money, that to me was like, fine. He also didn't pay him. Celine was the only one who paid him.
No, he paid him.
Did he pay him? Okay.
Yeah,
He gave him the coins. I forgot. I'm
coins
sorry.
He fished out every coin in his pocket and gave it to that guy.
But he consented to that. He's like, yes, I'll go along with this.
And I think the poem affected him.
It was a good poem.
It is a good poem. It was written by an actual poet for the film. So
that's cool.
Yeah. So I those are the moments that I wanted to talk about, was that cafe, because I knew I lost you at the cafe. I knew I did. I
think Jesse's a Virgo. I think I've met so many Jessies. And again, this is a movie, but to me, a Jesse's gonna Jesse his whole life. Like, it's a difficult mindset to get out of, if you are, especially if you're someone who's had to fight a lot. It seems like Jesse had to fight a lot with his parents being divorced, with, just kind of like taking care of his little sister. Like, we get glimpses into his life and why he is the way that he is. But I personally, and this again, I am not personally victimized by Jesse, but I'm personally someone who's like, do not destroy someone else's joy. If something brings somebody joy, shut the fuck up about it.
And I agree with you. And yes, I acknowledge Jesse in this moment, but I do think that Jesse exists in a lot of us men out there. And
God forbid you feel an ounce of joy.
I know, right? Well, also it's I liked your perspective about Jesse, what you just said about him having to like deal with his parents, and we don't really know, but like I also think it might be unique too that he is forcing himself to learn and become this intellectual, and he's not like he says his friends are in college, he's not in college, like so it feels. I don't know if this is true about Jesse or not, like if he's had the money to go to college or like, but he's trying to make himself a better person by being an intellectual. Now, does that come off as smug and an asshole a lot of times? Yeah. But that also could be another thing about it. But I think he learns in this moment. And one of my favorite things about him and Celine is that she is the combative. She is not just letting that.
Yes.
She's not going to sit there, let that stew and be like, well, this guy's an asshole and I'm never going to talk to him again. I like him. I like what he has to say 90% of the time. I need to correct him on his 10%. And I like that about Celine.
Yes, I agree.
Not that she needs to change anybody or she needs to change it, but also like, hey, you can't be a shitty person to me. That's not how this is going to go.
Yeah.
So, okay, sorry. Other than the pinball, did anything else happen in the pinball besides?
She talked about her ex a little bit and going to a shrink, but that's pretty much it. I just thought it was fun.
The phone calls, that happens after this, right?
Yes, that was cute. I forgot about the phone calls.
I'll be honest, that's my favorite scene in this whole movie. Is the phone calls.
It's very cute.
They're at another cafe, I believe, or a bar, and she's like, "Oh, what am I going to tell my friend the next day?" And she's like, "Let me call her up," and they pretend to call. And another time when she's having fun in the moment, and he's like, "What the hell are we doing?" And she's like, "I'm calling.
Pick up the phone."
And he plays along.
Yes.
And it's very cute. And it's a very cute way of her being like, yeah, I met this guy. He's really cute. He's a little smug. Like he's American, all this stuff about it. It's very cute. I love it.
Yeah.
And then he calls up Frank.
She's like, hey, Frank. She's like, hello.
Hey, dude, what's up? Like, I think it's so cute in this moment. It is truly, they have, over the span of a few hours, really, really gotten to know each other and are falling for each other in a way that they probably didn't expect.
No, and that's when she admits it to him, is in the phone, the fake phone call, where she's like, I think I like, that's when I fell for him, and he was like,
"That's when you fell for me?" Yeah, like,
he's like, me?
Yeah. No,
I liked that moment for him because he's just like, it's that boyish like. And I'm like, yes, experience joy, Jesse.
And then, but then they're also at the phone calls, they also have that realization, like, oh, this is almost over.
Yeah,
and we're done after this. Which is a harsh reality. And then they're like, what are we gonna do with the rest of our night? Are we gonna say goodbye and that's it? And it sucks and everything. He's like, no, let's say goodbye now, and then let's just hang out the rest of the night and leave in the morning and we're good. Which I thought was cool. And then they do the stealing of the wine and all that stuff.
Yeah, stole some wine, stole some glasses, laid around in the park, become intimate with one another. There's so much grass.
That's all you could think about.
I was like,
before you even said anything, I almost went, man, that grass looks really comfortable. And then right before I could say it, you go, so much grass. She's got grass all over her. And I was like, okay, not laying in the grass with this person.
I'm so sorry.
No.
I was just like, grass. It was everywhere.
I was like, maybe she's had an allergy. I don't know. And she hasn't told me.
No, again, 23-year-old Alyssa, that grass looks so nice and fluffy. 32-year-old Alyssa is like, I gotta get back up.
I gotta stand up.
I gotta get off this ground.
Where's the blanket? It's like, is he gonna get
I want a chair. Okay.
You do love to sit outside, especially for you love to sit outside.
Love a chair outside, but a chair.
Something I can get out of easily. She hates grass. She passes on grass, everybody. Yeah, I didn't want to. I forgot to tell you that in the moment last night, but I'm glad I saved it for today.
So sorry.
No, it's okay. I was
I'm
like, oh my
crushing.
god, that crash. Yeah, don't.
I'm stealing
You're
your joy
Jesse.
now.
You are my Jesse. That's okay. Keep going. I don't want to step on anymore.
No,
Of what we got left.
that's kind of it. And then there's not much that I mean, they do that. They wake up in the morning and like they're like, I want to take a picture of you, and then they just stare at each other for like 30 seconds.
Mhm.
And then we get to the train of them going away. So Celine has to get on the train to Paris. He's gonna stay behind and go to the airport. And literally, like 30 seconds before she has to get on the train, he finally speaks up. I just want, maybe again, there's a lot that I'm projecting into this man, but I'm like, again, you like, in a way, this movie could have been totally different. Like you said, you did the romantic thing, you gave into the silliness, you did the thing that brought you joy, and then you acted like a prick for the majority of the night to try to look cool. And then you get to the train, you go to say goodbye, and he goes, I don't want to say goodbye. And she goes, me neither. And he goes, what? He's like, why didn't you say anything earlier? And I'm like, because you were a dick, and she didn't want to seem upset because you were being too cool. Like he gave off the vibe.
But they both were like,
both
oh,
did.
let's make it cool. That's what I'm saying about both of them being 20 somethings and
Yes.
and like trying to keep up this mystique or this like romantic vibe of the evening. Because
Yes.
it's like when they do the phone calls and they're like, we don't want to say goodbye to each other. Like they're so just trying to be cool about the whole thing and not make the other. They're both doing it in that.
I agree, but I think Celine is way more vulnerable than him. Like Celine is the one who initiates the kiss. He won't do it.
Right.
Celine is the one who initiates the phone call and says, I'm really falling for him before he does his little phone call shenanigan. Celine is the one who calls him out on his bullshit rather than just sitting in the back and letting it stay cool and says, no, I'm going to be vulnerable and say that what you said kind of annoyed me. Like she has those moments, but she has been the more vulnerable one this entire time. And at the end, he finally takes a fucking leap and goes, I'm going to be the vulnerable one. And I'm like, if you were vulnerable 4 hours ago, we could have had a different movie.
I push back. I'm going to push back a little bit. I do think that Jesse was vulnerable throughout many parts of this movie. And it's in those times when she lets him talk, whether he's talking about reincarnation or talking about religion or talking about the reincarnation was really where I was going with this, where you learn a little bit more about Jesse than just like the bare, like, oh, he's thinking about these things. And that means something much more if I were to know this person on an actual deeper level. And there's little hints in there that I think he is being vulnerable about.
I think he's trying, but I'd like him to try harder.
And I think this is also a sex like a movie about sexes and the way that they react. But can't always be the guy.
That's fair.
Again, this isn't Prince Charming coming in to save the day. This is real. This is real.
He's
stupid and
everyone's flawed.
Because even in that moment, instead of being normal human beings, he says, oh, we wouldn't want to exchange phone numbers or anything. And she says back to him, oh, no, that would be like too obvious or whatever. She says something else, but like she says that in that moment. So she's still trying to be cool. And he's like, maybe we should meet in 5 years. And he's like, no. That's insane. Meet in 5 years? She's like, yeah, you're right. How about 1 year? He's like, no, not quick enough. 6 months. And like they plan this whole stupid, again, romantic thing when it's just like, just give me your number. Give me your address. I'll write you. And neither one of them do it.
No, and they said earlier we were set up for this because they were like, well, long distance is crazy because, people like you and me meet and then we exchange numbers. And when I go home, we'll call once or twice and maybe write once, but that's it. It'll just fizzle out. So like they've already set themselves up to not exchange numbers at the end of this. They were like, if we exchange numbers, it's gonna fizzle. So that's kind of how I interpreted that conversation.
Yeah. But I think that's so dumb.
I know. They're 23.
But I'm just making sure that you're not blaming Jessie for all this because she's just as
No.
dumb in that moment.
No, they're both dumb. I just don't like Jesse.
Shame on you. I knew you wouldn't like Jesse. I knew you wouldn't. He's not like amazing by any means, but I think they are both two dumb
No.
kids.
I also don't want to date Celine. I don't want to hang out with either of them.
All right, though. Let's okay. Who's your favorite character then?
I liked Celine more than.
I feel like Celine a lot more than I like Jesse too.
And again, there. And another thing. and another thing. When they're in the public transportation, the bus, the train, whatever it is, and they're in the back, and he asks her a question. He's like, "Tell me about the first time you had like a sexual awakening for a person." She goes on a 5-minute monologue to explain to him.
If she could have had the exact same response as him and been like,
as if he would, but it's like he's like, we're gonna play 20 questions, we're gonna get to know each other a little bit, you have to answer honestly, and like doesn't give the caveat of give me a 1-word answer. And yeah, so when she's like, have you ever been in love, he goes, yep, next question. I'm like, that is so shitty.
Strategic.
Well,
also I think it matters more when you find out that he was just broken up with. And
I know.
You give him 0 credit, and you know him. You know everything about him by the end of the movie, and you give him 0 credit. He's a hurt individual. She just went to see her grandma. He got broken up with after traveling to Madrid. Oh my God.
Well, then
I'm just trying to get a.
I know. This also gives me the again. And this would have been a different movie, a different plot point, but I'm like, is she just a rebound? Like, no, she's not. This is very romantic and lovely, and I enjoyed the fuck out of this movie. But I'm like if I were her and I found out at the pinball machine that he got broken up with 3 weeks prior, and we're on this big romantic one-night stand situation, I'm a fucking rebound. Like that, how you can view that, I was like, or how she doesn't think that or blows past that, like, cool. But
I do think that they're both just a story for one another.
Yeah.
Like, and it could be a rebound situation. It could not be a rebound situation, obviously for like her. But I think it is a story. Like I spent the night in Vienna, not asleep, walking through the town of Vienna with this boy that I met on a train.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll always have that story in the same way that he said, because she even says like, we're not going to sleep together. And he's like, I don't want to be the, typical story. You fuck a French girl and then leave her and never talk to her again. And then you have that story.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think they are both a story for each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is the do it for the plot movie.
Yeah. It's do it to have that romantic experience in your life because reality's coming, I think. Mm-hmm. And these are the 20-somethings, and they're like, well, I haven't done anything with my life. Maybe I should do something crazy or cool or something like that and react. So yeah, Celine is my favorite character. I agree with you. I'm trying to defend Jesse for no reason at all.
And I'm just giving you shit because I can.
Yeah, because I do like Celine. I do think Celine is more emotionally mature than Jesse. I already said that she gives him the shit back and tells him, hey, you can't steal my joy when I'm doing things like that. And you don't have to always be this guy. I like that about Celine, and she is the more forthcoming of the two. So I like her for every reason that you like her. And not Jesse. All right. What lines, though, stick out from this movie?
Oh, I've got a couple. Okay,
yeah, I've got a few, too. And some of them are big because these are they go on these very in-depth monologues for a while and concern a lot of things. Yeah.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but they're all kind of lengthy. But yeah, I also, as a side note, this all of these quotes and just the two of them together, I'm like, this is the trope of anxious girlfriend, depressed boyfriend. I was like, oh God. Because Celine talks about death a lot. So the first one I have is Celine. It says, I used to think that if none of your family or friends knew you were dead, it was like not really being dead. People can invent the best and worst for you. And I was like, Schrodinger's cat. But I did like that. I thought that was an interesting thought.
Yeah.
You want to go?
Oh, sure. I have one from Celine that says, I always feel this pressure of being a strong and independent icon of womanhood, and without making it look my whole life is look like my whole life is revolving around some guy. But loving someone and being loved means so much to me. We always make fun of it and stuff, but isn't everything we do in a life a way to be loved a little bit more? And I really like that.
I just had the last line, isn't everything we do in life a way to be loved a little more?
Yeah.
I have one from Jesse when they're in the grass. And he says, listen, if somebody gave me the choice right now of to never see you again or to marry you, all right, I would marry you, all right? And maybe that's a lot of romantic bullshit, but people have gotten married for a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, thank you, Jesse, for being cute for 5 seconds. I need that romanticism to pull me back in.
Yeah. Jesse says, I have one from Jesse that says, you know what the worst thing about somebody breaking up with you? It's when you remember how little you thought about the people you broke up with, and you realize that it is how little they're thinking of you. You know, how'd you like to go think you're both in all this pain, but they're just like, hey, I'm glad you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
that was a good one. That was a good one.
See, he's thinking, like, he's letting you in. This is what he's thinking about. How much he does not matter to his ex-girlfriend.
Yes. I got 2 more Celine ones. Even though I reject most of the religious things, I can't help but feeling for all those people that come here lost or in pain, guilt, looking for some kind of answers. It fascinates me how a single place can join so much pain and happiness for so many generations.
I like that. I like that last bit.
And talking about the church, I thought it was fascinating.
Let's see. I have one from, I'll do Jesse, where Jesse says, everybody's parents fuck them up. Rich kids' parents gave them too much. Poor kids, not enough. You know, too much attention, not enough attention. They either left them or they stuck around and taught them the wrong things.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, empathy for both.
Empathy. I have one more, and it's another Celine, and it says, I believe if there's any kind of God, it wouldn't be in any of us, not you or me, but just this little space in between. If there's any, it's so good. If there's any kind of magic in this world, it must be in the attempt of understanding someone sharing something. I know it's almost impossible to succeed, but who cares really? The answer must be in the attempt.
Yeah. I had the part about the space in between. The other thing that I'm going to have, because a lot of my next things are lines as well, my funny lines or whatever. But I have where the last line of what the poet says in his poem is, I carry you, you'll carry me. That's how it could be. Don't you know me? And then don't you know me by now?
Mm-hmm.
I really like that. I thought the poem was really good.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think that's... Oh, I have this from Celine. One more. And it's, I have this awful paranoid thought that feminism was mostly invented by men so that they could like fool around a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, ooh.
He's like, free yourself, sleep with me. And she's like, okay. Like...
All right. Biggest laugh, cry, scare, or thrill? What packed the biggest emotional punch for you?
I didn't really have, definitely no scares or yeah. I only had one laugh, and it was the Venetian actors talking about Winston's cow, and he's like, "I'm the cow."
Yeah, I am the cow.
Like that gave me like a laugh out loud moment. I also liked when Celine was talking about her ex and how she like wanted to kill him, and that her therapist took that seriously and had to call the cops. And I was like, that is insane, but very funny.
Kind of like I told an HR person at my job that somebody at my job was threatening to kill me, and I did it in a very jokingly way, but they took it very seriously, and I was
They
like,
have
oh,
to.
I was obviously joking.
They have
Obviously, she could see my face. This was when I was in office. You could see my face, and I was like, "Hey, such and such in there. She's gonna hurt me if I don't stop doing this." Like very joking. And then that girl got pulled into the office, and they were like, "Cody made this complaint about you." And I was like, "Cody did not complain about a thing. You are crazy, and I'm gonna kill you." No, I didn't say that. The other than the I am the cow, I think I decided I wanted to sleep with you when we got off the train, but now that we've talked so much, I don't know anymore.
You thought that was funny?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was like insightful.
Yeah.
Because again, it's that idea of like you can be your most vulnerable self with a stranger. Like it's that joke. It's like, first base, second base, third base, home. It's like base is sleeping together. Second base is trauma dumping.
Mhm.
It's like actually opening up about your
That's why I thought it
life.
was funny.
I know, but like I think it was more. I mean, I get it. I get why it'd be funny, but I also found it to be like realistic. Be like, oh, I actually like care about what you think now, or I care
Yeah.
about how you view me, or I want to be like a second layer. I don't want to be just like sexually vulnerable with you. I want to be actually vulnerable with you, and sometimes sex can get in the way of that. So I
Yeah.
thought that was more insightful than I thought that was like sweet in a way.
Oh, well, I thought it was funny because I thought it was sarcastic, and he would be very upset that she doesn't
Right.
want to sleep with him anymore.
Right. I didn't take it as like, well, the more you talk, the less I want to sleep with you. And it's
That's
like,
how I took it.
Oh, no, I took it as the more you talk, the more I'm starting to like you, and the sex is going to mean something and not
Mhm.
just be a one night fling like I thought it was going to be.
Well, in the same vein, they're lying on the grass, and she's like, she says something about like, we're never going to see each other again, so I'm not just going to have sex with you. And he immediately goes, let's see each other again. I was like,
That was funny.
it reminds me of a scene in Team America where she's like, I can't have sex with you unless you can promise me that you'll never die. And immediately the guy goes, I promise I will never die. So I thought that was funny. And then he asks her what she would be doing if, she didn't get off the train with him. And she replies with, actually, I think I would have gotten off in Salzburg with somebody else.
Yeah, that was funny.
Any ridiculous moments or WTFs that you wanted to point out?
I just wrote Jesse just being a dick. I which we've already discussed. I just was like I was just always kind of like taken aback by it. And I'm like, you want to, in theory, impress this girl. You want to get to know her, and like you're asking her to be vulnerable, and you're just kind of like making her feel bad. And like she obviously like comes back and is like, yeah, don't try to make me feel bad. Like you talking down the palm reader was kind of a dick thing to do. And I needed her to do that because I was like, yeah, this just like I'm like, I don't want you two to sleep together now. Like I'm annoyed.
Yeah. I
So
knew.
that's yeah.
I knew in that moment. I was like, oh, this is gonna lose her. All right, I didn't have any because it's perfect. Best music moment or score moment in this movie?
I put the listening booth in the record store. The
Yeah.
song is Come Here by Kath Bloom. Apparently like this, because of this movie, that record got like a little bit more play and pickup, and she ended up like releasing new records after this.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Nice. I had that down as well. I also put down the opening scene where it's just showing like the train tracks and like parts of the city and everything, which is by Purcell. I think the opera it's the overture for Dido and Aeneas. I thought that was really good. I also liked, and I don't remember the music, if the same music or different type of music was going over this, but at the very end of the movie, it's just showing shots of the places that they were, just still shots, or like where they had sex, or where they become intimate if they did have sex, which I think they did.
It's heavily implied.
Yeah. But like you see the wine bottle and the glasses there on there. So not great about picking up after themselves. But then you just see this old woman walking by there. Like life is going on, or it's, just these, they mean a lot more. I guess these just spots just mean a lot more now that you know, like, that they experienced things there, or different conversations happened there, the cafe or the balcony of whatever staircase or whatever they were down by the river, all that stuff. So I like that too.
Yeah.
All right, who gave the best performance in this movie?
I also think Julie Delpy did.
Yeah.
They both did great. I do kind of feel like that's kind of Ethan Hawke's bread and butter, though. To kind of act like similar character. I mean, there are differentiations, but I don't know Julie Delpy other than this might be the only time I've seen her, and I thought she did a really great job. Like, I believed she was a 23-year-old, like, just kind of, and I don't know. I just liked her performance.
Yeah, I said both of them just because it doesn't work if they do not have any kind of chemistry and work well together. This movie does not work.
No.
It does not come off as well as it does.
Mm-hmm.
Both bangable though, right?
Both bangable.
Okay, that's what we're skipping out on the F, Marry, Kill because this is.
It's obvious they're both.
I know who you'd want to kill too, if we had to make you choose. So, it's the Zikao.
Zikao.
95 or 2025 recast, or both if you wanted to do both.
I did not do 95.
Okay, I didn't either.
Okay, so for my 2025 recast, my Celine, I found two French actresses that are in their early-ish 20s, Lola Leland and Elise Isaz. Both of them are French. Both of them are cute. That was it.
Nice.
I wanted to actually find a French actress.
Yeah.
For Jesse, I had Dominic Sessa. He's from The Holdovers.
Yeah, that's great.
And I also had Nicholas Galitzine. He's the guy from The Idea of You. He plays the Harry Styles-ish character with Anne Hathaway.
Okay.
Both of them are just boyish looking. I like the Dominic Sessa pick over the Nicholas one. But I just kind of was finding like some boyish guys who could pull off the Ethan Hawke of it all.
I think that is perfect. I think that Dominic Sessa pool is incredible. Awesome.
I tried.
Notes. That one's perfect. Because I struggled. Because I don't know like 20-something actors, and most of the time like 20-something actresses, just because that's the way the world works, okay? Because the 20-something actors don't become something until they're in their late 20s, early 30s. And then it's all about 20-something actresses. So the only thing I could think, I did find a French actress. Her name's Garance Marie. I don't know how to say her name because I'm not French. She was from the movie Raw, which is a French horror movie-esque movie about eating people. Very interesting. She's great in it. Then I also thought of Lily Rose Depp. I think this is the second time that I've cast her. She can speak very fluent. Her mom is French. So she can do this as well. And then I thought maybe let's gender bend this a little bit. Let's make Jesse a woman. So it's still Jesse and Celine. And then Jesse is played by his daughter, Maya Hawke.
You know what? If you are going to remake this movie in 2025, I think gender bending it is the only way it's going to work. And I am here for it. I would watch the shit out of that movie.
And honestly, anytime that I've seen Maya Hawke, and I know you have experience with Maya Hawke on Stranger Things, and I have not watched Stranger Things. Any of the movies that I've seen Maya Hawke in, she gives me more Ethan Hawke vibes than her mom, Uma Thurman. Like, that is who she is to me. And like, she could be that kind of shit talking Jesse character really well, and like super like talking over like
that's kind of how she is in Stranger Things too. She's kind of an asshole in like to Steve a little bit. They're best friends and they give each other shit, and she's also she also plays a queer character in that story. But yeah, she can kind of dish it out and but she also can still be vulnerable, and I think I like that a lot. I also completely forget that Ethan Hawke is her dad. I always remember Uma Thurman's her mom, but I never remember who her dad.
She looks like Uma Thurman, acts like Ethan Hawke in my mind. All right. Fun facts about this movie. I didn't have a ton. But
me neither.
Okay.
Um, I asked you this during the movie, but then I got an answer. When Celine said that there is a war 300 kilometers away, we can't do anything about it. She was talking about the war in Croatia, which is from 1991 to 1995 between Croatia and Serbia/Yugoslavia, which is not funny to me. Like, but I actually know multiple people from Serbia and Croatia who escaped and came to the United States, and I went to high school with 4 or 5 of them. So I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. So obviously we were children. Like, I
Right.
remember the one kid who was in my grade came over when we were in first grade and like became a citizen when I remember he went through the whole process of becoming a citizen. We were like in the 7th or 8th grade. And but yeah, it was like, I was like, oh yeah, shit, I know all about that.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about that you even know people that
I know. I know one family had 3 kids, and then another two of the families were from, actually, the one family was from Serbia, the one family was from Croatia, and then the one girl, her mom was Croatian and her dad was Serbian. They had to leave.
Yeah.
Because they were like, we cannot go back to either country because we love each other and we have to go. And so that was always, they always would argue with one another.
Yeah.
Sides. And I was like, Jesus.
What else did you have?
Gwyneth Paltrow and Jennifer Aniston both auditioned for the part of Celine. I don't want either of them there.
No. God.
I love a rando. Like, I love a not starlet. Like, so I was like, I think Julie Delpy did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I'm not a big Jennifer Aniston fan. Like, there are I do like her, but I like her for certain roles. Like,
who was the other one?
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Okay.
Who I just don't like. But Jennifer Aniston, I love her in like The Breakup. Like,
right.
I love her in Horrible Bosses. I love her being like kind of like a powerhouse of a person. It's kind of hard for me to see. I mean, Jennifer Aniston as a young person is just Rachel from Friends. Like, and kind of going out like to be this like young French girl. And I'm like, I don't think that's going to work. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
And I only have one more, and it's about the German couple arguing in the beginning. So Richard Linklater left out subtitles in the opening scene, but the couple on the train is arguing in German. The man is reading his newspaper about how 70,000 women are addicted to alcohol. The script translated the squabble as follows. You're one of them, he says to his wife. She volleys back, saying he's the alcoholic. And then he says, I have a reason to do it. I'm married to you. And that's what created the fight between them. I was like, damn.
Very funny. You're one of them.
You're one of them.
That's hilarious. I had a couple of those as well. I had a couple more. The idea for the movie came from the backgrounds of both writers, Linklater and Kreisen. Linklater spent a night walking around Philadelphia with Amy, a woman he randomly met, and Kreisen rode around Europe on trains meeting people. And on one trip, she met a Norwegian man on the way to Paris and ended up walking around the city all night, much like in this. Kreisen never revealed whether or not they had a romance that night, and they lost contact. Linklater and Amy stayed in touch for a while until contact was lost, and then he never heard from her again. He did find out in 2010 that she died in a traffic accident before the release of this movie. So that
probably why they lost contact.
Yeah.
Which is horrific.
Let's see. In the first scene, they're both reading books. She is reading Madame Edwarda L'Amour and History de l'Oel by Georges Bataille. And Ethan Hawke is reading All I Need Is Love by Klaus Kinski, which I think is very funny and explains so much. Klaus Kinski is a very famous German actor, one of the most famous German actors there are, but is also one of the most reviled actors ever. Super difficult to work with, and screamed at people on set and was just an awful human being. I think it's so funny that he wrote a book, an autobiography, saying all I need is love. And it kind of influences that character of Ethan Hawke a little bit. I'm the smartest man in the room, kind of that.
Right.
thing.
The only thing that would have been more fitting is a Jack Kerouac book.
Yeah. Well, and apparently there's like a lot of influences about James Joyce's Ulysses in here. Like the day that they meet is actually Bloomsday, which is a part of that book. I've never read it. That book, Ulysses and Infinite Jest, I've never read, so I can't truly be a true intellectual like most men my age. So I'd pass. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. Klaus Kinski book. That's all I had. Do you have anything else for? Okay. All right. Now, like a fine wine and dish, if you could pair this with another movie for a double feature, what would you choose? And your first choice is
Destination Wedding.
not what I thought you were gonna
Oh
say.
no, really? Oh no, I feel like I'm forgetting something then.
You will when I say it. You're
I'm
gonna.
gonna be so mad. So
You
no,
will.
Destination Wedding is a exact same setup with a couple, it's a
Mhm.
walking talking movie. There's really only two characters in the movie. It is Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder. And this actually came out, I believe, in 2020 or 2021, so it's relatively recent. And the two of them like have a little bit of a snafu at the airport, and they really hate each other, but they have to spend the weekend together at this destination wedding. I believe it's like his sister and her friend or something, like who are getting married, so they just have to go to this wedding. And of course they're both there alone, so they're put at the singles table, and they do end up like having a romance and then going their separate ways at the end. But I loved that movie. I
Mhm.
enjoyed the hell out of that movie. And then when I told you about it, you were like, "Oh, that sounds like Before Sunrise." And so that's why I paired that one.
Okay.
Um, I mean, we could also throw out there Before Sunset and Before Midnight as the trilogies, but I skipped
Right.
over those.
Right.
The other one I have is Past Lives.
Okay. I had
Uh,
Past Lives on my list. Yes.
Okay, so that's an A24 film, incredible film. Highly recommend if you haven't seen it. But especially because when Ethan Hawke is talking about the reincarnation bit, like that is a huge, obviously it's the title of this idea of past lives. And, like looking back, what would you have done something differently? Or maybe like two people have like a pull or a draw to one another, and maybe you were lovers in a past life, or maybe you were just best friends, or maybe you were siblings, or you don't know, and like you feel drawn to people in your life for some reason, and how the decisions that you make, just it's like kind of like kismet and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
those were the only two I came up with, and I'm gonna be so upset. What's the one that you thought I was gonna have?
Rye Lane.
That did not even occur to me. Okay, that's also that'd be a good one. Yep.
It's walking, talking. They go through
Yeah.
this area and the Rye Lane, whatever. Like they go through all that area.
Also Europe. Yep.
Yep, Europe.
Dang it.
I thought that's what it was. Oh,
No, it
man.
didn't even. I also think too that one has a lot more characters in it. I mean, they're all side
Yeah,
characters,
yeah.
but like it's not just the two of them.
Right, right. So that was the only one. Past Lives was on my list. Midnight in Paris was on my list as well. Because it is very like, yes, there are a lot of robust characters in that, especially because it's a time travel movie and everything. But it is essentially
Walking
Owen
around Europe.
Owen Wilson walking around Paris. He does meet a French girl at one point and then ends up deciding like that she's going to be, who he communicates with by the end of this. But when he's traveling in time, he does connect with this one girl, and they like have these very intellectual conversations about the 1920s and like which time is better. And I thought that was good, just against the backdrop, especially whenever in this movie they're showing like just the clip, like the still shots of areas. They do that. Woody Allen does the same thing in Midnight in Paris against some beautiful music. Lost in Translation, which is essentially a Bill Murray, Scarlett Johansson movie. A lot of talking and walking around Japan. There are some other characters in there. Worst Person in the World has some moments like this. It is one of those movies of the last like 5 years that has stuck with me. And the main character, she has some relationships, but like all these movies have these conversations and these moments, and I really think that's what why I keep comparing them to like Before Sunrise, is because of these moments and these conversations, and I think they're really huge in those movies. Let's see, my final one. I would also recommend in the mood for love, because it is about two people getting together and becoming friends. My final one is a David Lean movie from 1945, Brief Encounter. Basically, it is about two people just becoming acquainted with each other and developing a friendship over like weekly visits, and just getting to know each other that way. And one is a wife, like she's a wife and he's a doctor, and I think he might be married as well, but they meet and just have this beautiful friendship at this, I think, cafe or train station cafe or something like that. It's amazing. I love Brief Encounter. I think it is so good. And I know people don't like old movies, but suck it. And that's it. That's all I got. I got so many movies.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I know.
They're good.
They are good. All right. On a scale of 1 to 5, how likely are you to rewatch this movie?
I'd give it a 3. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not opposed. I want to watch the other two. I gotta know what happens next. Because I honestly think that would have been a great standalone movie. Like to leave the interpretation open to if they ever were to see each other again or not. Nobody knows. That would have been a fine ending. But the fact that there are 2 more movies after this, I'm like, well, now I got to do it.
Yeah.
So, I'm without the other 2 movies, I think the rating would be lower, but I'm like with the other 2 movies, I'm like maybe this is going to be a cool trilogy that I absolutely love and I need to dive in further. So I'll rank it in the middle and give it a 3.
Okay. I give it a 5 because it gives me so much joy.
Yes, you love it.
I do love this movie, and I've seen it a few times now. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate this movie?
I gave it a
overall?
4.
Okay. That's higher than I thought you were going.
Yes, I would have given it a 3.5. But then because of Ethan Hawke. But then I thought about other movies that I've rated 3.5, and I was like, you know what, I like this one better than those. I also I think if I am to look at the movie holistically, if I'm to ignore the Ethan Hawke of it all, I would like the cinematography, the writing, the backdrop, the like you said, the still images at the end, the 2 of them sitting on like a box in this alleyway, the phone call scene, I just thought that was so beautiful. I love the realism of them having conversations like at the pinball machine. Like the sound almost gets hard to hear. Yeah. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yes, that's how exactly you would have a date over a pinball machine. You wouldn't be able to hear each other that well. So like, it was so realistic. I was like, there's so many tiny, tiny, tiny details that made this movie as a holistic thing incredible. So that's why I bumped it to the 4.
Yeah. I only gave it a 4.5.
Only. Okay.
Only.
That's a great score.
That is a great score. Mostly because I really did try to think about this movie individually. And I actually bumped it up because of that. Because I think when I had rated this earlier, it had been a 4 on my Letterboxd. But I thinking of it as an individual movie and not a part of a trilogy, I was like, I think this is a good standalone movie, like kind of like what you were saying. But I do know more, and I'm like, ooh, there's so much here. There's so much more depth to this. So I went with 4.5. I do love it. It's in the lead right now for my favorite movie of the year. But anyway, that's it. That's all we've got. No more questions for you. You're done. You can leave here, never talk to me again. But anyway, big thank you to our guest, Alyssa. Thank you so much. Before we wrap up, do you have any movie recommendations or TV recommendations or anything that you would like to recommend to the viewers?
Not a ton. I did watch the John Waters original version of Hairspray recently. I'm kind of on. In the last few months, I've seen Serial Mom, Crybaby, and Hairspray, all John Waters films. So I guess I'm a John Waters fan now. I've loved all of them. I want to watch the more insane ones because those are like probably the 3 most tame movies that he has. Yeah. So before I like sit here and say I'm a huge John Waters fan, I definitely need to see the other one. So that's kind of like the kick that I'm on at the moment. Other than that, I have done nothing but play Dreamlight Valley. So that is all I've been doing. So I just am addicted to my Switch games. So that's kind of it. I really don't have too much this week.
And we watched The Bachelor together.
We did. We'll see how that goes.
Well, great. I think, I mean, along with you, I haven't really. I mean, I also had the pod on Wednesday, so I had already named a couple of my last movies that I watched. But the only one I would recommend to people is A Different Man. Is a Sebastian Stan movie about a man with I don't know, is it a disease?
Elephant.
Yeah, it's like what the Elephant Man essentially has, but like he
The syndrome.
suddenly, yeah, I forget what it is, and I don't want to be insensitive about it or anything by mistaking what it is. But anyway, Different Man, he gets cured of this, and then he has to deal with looking like Sebastian Stan in a world, and then he encounters somebody that actually has the exact same thing with him. And I thought it was very darkly funny at times and very well acted. And I'm a little surprised. I haven't seen The Apprentice, where he is acting as Donald Trump, but I think that's the one he got nominated for. And I'm a little surprised that he didn't, because he was outstanding in this movie. So I do recommend A Different Man. It's on Max for streaming. And then I did watch one of the short films that's nominated for an Oscar this year. It kind of plays out like a episode of Black Mirror. It's called I'm Not a Robot. You can find that on YouTube under the New Yorker thing. It's about 22 minutes, I think, long. So if you're into Black Mirror stuff, I'd love to talk to you about that. And you can talk to me about that in our Discord server. And by joining that Discord server, the links are in on this Twitch account. You can join the Discord server. There's also links there to follow on Instagram and links to check out my account on Letterboxd. So do, follow me wherever you want. It doesn't matter. All my friends are on there too. Even Alyssa's on there if you want to follow her on Letterboxd. Don't follow her on anything else though.
No, I'm private on all those things.
She's private, so don't. But another thing, we're going to keep doing this month. You love me. You really love me. And next Monday, not Super Bowl Sunday, we're going to do this Monday. We're going to be continuing that theme where all these movies are centered around romance. And we're going to be talking about The Bridges of Madison County. It is streaming on Amazon Prime right now. If you don't have that, you can also rent that on demand. So do check that out and join us next week for Bridges of Madison County. And we always do an extra credit. I'm sorry, so much to talk about here. At the end of the month, we always do an extra credit month where we talk about movies that don't quite make our 52 list, and we cram them all into an hour-ish podcast. And this month, we're doing Spencer's Super Sweet Month of Movies. Spencer, if you don't know, is a frequent guest and contributor on the 52slash channel. And we are going to do films because it is his birthday next month. And House Guest, which is arguably his favorite movie of 1995, is this year. So we're doing that. We're doing a bunch of movies just for him. They include
might be his favorite movie of all time.
It might be. It has Sinbad in it. I think that's his favorite actor of all time. So who knows? Anyway, Spencer's Super Sweet Month of Movies. We're doing Man of the House starring Jonathan Taylor Thomas. We're doing Tom and Huck starring Jonathan Taylor Thomas. We're doing House Guest starring Sinbad, and we're doing Bushwhacked starring Daniel Stern. So that pod will be Wednesday, February 26th. Do not miss it. Feel free, if I like you enough, you can also join me and Spencer on that, and just come in and talk so much shit to one another. Also, we are still continuing 52/1995 music with Alyssa here. Join us on Tuesdays for that. We do that at Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern. This week's album, we've moved into a country month. This week's album is All I Want by Tim McGraw. So do check that out and tune in when we do that Tuesday at 6 p.m. And other than that, you guys are awesome. Thank you for all the follows. Thank you for any of the subscriptions that I've gotten. Really do appreciate it. That goes along. That helps out so much. Just doing that, just following is really cool. We love to talk about movies and anything else with any of the people that follow along with us. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for tuning in this week, and we'll see you next time on 50.